Put a strawberry daiquiri in my hand right now. I need like 4 Bahama Mamas. Oh look, there's Margaritaville. I'm so ready to hit the bar. Welcome to the Bahamas, where, starting in the line to go through immigration, all the conversations are about alcohol. Yes, the Bahamas, a small island country just east of the Florida Keys, where I'll be staying in a large resort full of corporate salespeople for the next 4 nights. The immigration line uncoils slowly, moving towards the front of the terminal. I look at my wife Morena, unsure about this plan. What do you think F. Scott Fitzgerald did on vacation? Morena shrugs. She's from India and may not have studied the literature of the lost generation in high school. I think for a moment, then answer my own question. Actually, I know this one. F. Scott Fitzgerald got shit-faced. I first mentioned my sobriety last year at this time when Morena's job took us to Dublin. This year the deal is the same, but we're in the Bahamas. Here goes. Morena sells payroll software for a U.S. company, and if you sell a lot of payroll software in any given year, they'll send you to President's Club, an awards ceremony and networking event for all the best salespeople worldwide. Spouses and significant others get a free ride as well. So last year, in Dublin and newly sober, I had a hell of a time surrounded by hundreds of enthusiastic extroverts in an environment of organized corporate fun. A hell of a time. In other words, it was hellish, with plenty of boozy revelry. But I held the line. I have now been sober for almost a year and a half, and it's been quite a journey. So today I'd like to give you a little update. Turns out I'm not the only guy who's hit a point in his life where he decided it's better to just quit drinking. Hey everybody, it's Daniel. Welcome back to Spain to Go, the best podcast in the entire multiverse for all things Spain, and occasionally all things international. Today we're in the Bahamas. This is episode 83. Back in line at Bahamas immigration, I'm standing in front of the shrillest American girl ever. Then, on the bus to the hotel, I'm last to get on. I end up on the jump seat next to the driver and realize I'm right in front of her again. The driver is clearly annoyed as well. He keeps looking over at me and rolling his eyes. I already hate this. But maybe if I don't interact with anyone, it'll be okay. It's just 5 days of relaxation, right? The shrillest American girl ever is calling her phone company to check on her roaming plan. Then she's telling someone about her Pandora charm bracelet and how she collects charms everywhere she goes. Quite the little citizen of the universe, this one. But it's not even clear who she's talking to. Perhaps no one. After a half-hour drive across the island, we make it to the resort. It's one of those huge hotels that's also a luxury shopping mall and a casino, with a pool full of dolphins, several Starbucks, and various expensive restaurants dotted about. The Shake Shack has a shark tank, so you can eat expensive burgers while you contemplate the marine life. Everything is cashless, just pay with your room key, and wildly overpriced. Around the resort, there are big banners celebrating President's Club. The company is bringing in hundreds of people from all over the US and Europe. They give us free hats and water bottles to refill around the resort, then send us up to our room. It's big and bright, with views of the palm trees and the Caribbean beyond. And the AC seems to work well, which is a plus. Tonight, there's a party at the beach, which Morena tactfully invites me to skip. All the better, because I wasn't able to sleep at all on the plane, and my internal clock is telling me it's 2 a.m. I lie down on the big hotel bed under a stream of cold air, and I'm out. A lot of people talk about the pink cloud, the feeling of euphoria after you quit drinking. Well, you get used to what it feels like to wake up without a hangover. For some people, the good vibes last several months. In my case, it was about 4 days. Less well known is the gray mist that comes after the pink cloud, in which your brain chemistry is still readjusting after withdrawal. Officially, it's called PAWS, P-A-W-S, which stands for Post-Acute Withdrawal Syndrome. That's where I was in Dublin last year, and it was miserable. For the record, I didn't have any acute withdrawal symptoms when I stopped drinking. I felt better immediately, then worse a few days later. It took my brain several months to get back to baseline after swimming in booze for 10 years. Months in which I was sometimes really sad, but mostly just sitting with a seemingly never-ending feeling of malaise. I drank a lot of coffee in that time, ate an extra 1,000 calories a day, and generally felt bad. Then a little better, then a little better. I guess it helps that I've spent some time meditating in my life. I'm used to just sitting and watching my monkey mind work. If you're in the gray mist, my recommendation is this: don't take your internal monologue too seriously. It'll improve with time. Also, work out as hard as your body will allow. Got to get those endorphins somehow. No extroverts were entertained in the writing of this article. At breakfast the next day, we're with some salespeople and they're talking in buzzwords. My new role involves curated database build-out. I have yet to discover what curated actually means, but it sure sounds important. I dig into my $17 omelet and try, and fail, to maintain a neutral facial expression. When I started on this journey, I read that newly sober people often end up dealing with whatever issues they were using booze to avoid all along. That won't be a problem for me, I thought. I don't have any issues. I genuinely thought this. And in a way I was right. What popped back up mostly weren't issues in the classic sense. It was just my natural weirdness, which prevents me from interacting with people. I had completely forgotten about this, but once I stopped drinking, it came roaring back. Not shyness exactly, just a complete disinterest in boring conversations. Ordinary introvert stuff, I suppose. Turns out I just needed a few drinks to dumb myself down for small talk. You know, Mondays, am I right? Anyway, nice weather we're having. Check out that local sports team. This lack of interest doesn't end all my conversations, but it happens often enough to be a problem. These days, actually, I suspect that a lot of people who try to talk to the new, super introverted me just assume I'm boring or dumb or both. Which is fine. I'm past 40 and my days of worrying about the opinions of random acquaintances are long behind me. But it does pose some interesting questions. How would I have gotten through my 20s without alcohol? What would dating have been like? I suspect that without a certain amount of tipsiness, I might have had a much different experience of making friends and dating abroad. But I guess we'll never really know. Another thing that popped back up once I got sober was my repressed spiritual side. Let me preface this by saying that I don't officially believe in anything spiritual or religious. It just seems to be a place where my mind wants to go. Back in Barcelona, Morena will take me to brunch with a couple of her friends from corporate. They'll be sitting there talking about office gossip, and I'll be off in my own world having a spiritual experience. Are we all one consciousness? Where does life come from? Where does it go? All this while Morena and company eat fancy egg dishes and slurp down beetroot smoothies. And I've always been this way. If we were living in a previous century, my parents could have sent me off to join the priesthood and just been done with it. One less mouth to feed. As it is, I developed some life skills and I'm doing just fine with my 21st century existence. But of course, being insufferably deep with a brain that wants to spend time on transcendental questions doesn't make for good water cooler conversations. When I was younger, people tended to be huge dicks about this aspect of my personality. I guess we all cope with the human condition how we can. And I don't know where my brain wants to take me here, but I'm trying not to end up as one of those ultra-spiritual types. I may grow out my beard and become an Orthodox Christian or something. Only time will tell. Not interacting with people was a good call. I spend the next few days wandering around the resort in the heat and trying to relax at the beach or by the pool. The only thing that seems to be reasonably priced around here is the iced coffee from Starbucks. One afternoon, there's an awards ceremony, which I'm once again tactfully nudged into skipping. Instead, I stay back in the hotel room, reading the collected essays of Ludwig von Mises of the Austrian School of Economics. So, who's your favorite economist is the kind of question I think would make for great small talk in my perfect introvert utopia. Just try it at a party, though. Disappointing. From von Mises, I learned that, under capitalism, the common man enjoys amenities which in ages gone by were unknown and therefore inaccessible even to the richest people. But of course, these motor cars, television sets, and refrigerators do not make a man happy. In the instant in which he acquires them, he may feel happier than he did before. But as soon as some of his wishes are satisfied, new wishes spring up. Such is human nature. That is Ludwig von Mises' The Anti-Capitalistic Mentality, 1956. And it sounds about right. In fact, it's only been about 2 days, and I'm already over the fact that I'm staying in a tropical paradise, and that there's a shark tank down at the burger joint. Being annoyed at a high-end resort on a vacation paid for by your wife's company is a pretty niche problem to have, and I try to always keep in mind that a few generations ago, the only way a guy like me would get to travel abroad is if he were going to war. Still, it's easy to forget all your good luck. Such is human nature. After the awards ceremony, we go to one of the expensive restaurants that are scattered around the resort. Even on the company's dime, I'm a bit offended by $65 steak. Also, there's a group of boisterous salespeople at the next table, and they are loud. Please pardon the blistering hypocrisy of this statement for me, but now that I'm sober, I find drunk people to be pretty obnoxious. Drinking is this supposedly fun thing to do, but if you're on the outside, it doesn't really look fun. I should also mention at this point that I am not and have never been fun, so I'm no great authority on the subject. Also, apologize to almost everybody who's ever known me and has therefore seen me drunk on more than one occasion. But, the fun aspect aside, society's messaging around alcohol is pretty dumb if you think about it. Here's this addictive substance. We absolutely know it's addictive, but we encourage everybody to use it. Use it to relax, use it to unwind, use it to have fun, use it to de-stress, use it to socialize, use it to enjoy your food and, more generally, your life. Use it when you're happy, use it when you're sad. Adult life will present you with literally thousands of occasions, from weddings to funerals, where you'll be expected to drink alcohol. In fact, you're probably a pretty boring person if you don't use it at every opportunity. So drink up. Oh, and by the way, if you actually get addicted to this known to be addictive substance, well, then you have a big problem and you need to get some self-control and learn moderation, you monster. How could you be so irresponsible? Like I said, it's dumb. There's also some bad messaging around quitting, though. In fact, one of the things that kept me from quitting for a while was the image of the boring guys going to AA meetings I had seen on TV. The impression I had, your mileage may vary, is that if you want to quit, you have to make recovering alcoholic a huge part of your personality, and spend all your time talking about it. If that's what sobriety looks like, I thought, I'd rather just stay drunk. What finally happened is I read the book The Easy Way to Control Alcohol by Alan Carr, and then I stopped. I haven't been to any meetings, I haven't been racked by alcohol cravings, and I haven't really had to talk about it. Most of my friends just said, "Oh, okay," when I told them I'm not drinking anymore. And so I just moved forward. That isn't to say it's been easy. I've had to practice plenty of mindfulness and relearn ways of dealing with my emotions and my boredom that don't involve having 4 glasses of wine. One thing that helped, ironically, is YouTube. There are a lot of people out there telling stories of how they stopped drinking and went on to do cool things with their lives. Look around and you'll find some. There are plenty of options besides becoming one of those stereotypical recovering alcoholics from TV dramas. Our final night in the Bahamas, we go to a company-organized white party. A white party just means everyone wears white. Why? I'm not certain. Morena and I walk all the way to the other end of the resort, through hallways filled with souvenir shops, the Arctic chill of the air in the casino, the luxury shopping area, another huge lobby, past some expensive restaurants, and on into the convention center. The party was originally scheduled to be at the beach, but has been moved inside due to a tropical storm named Debbie that was allegedly supposed to arrive in the islands that day. All day long, there's been no sign of the storm, but in the end, the party is being held in a huge conference room with caterers, a DJ, and several hundred payroll salespeople all dressed in white, milling around the open bar. Once again, I try and fail to maintain a neutral facial expression. I can't handle crowds and noise anymore. The DJ plays Biggie, Mo Money, Mo Problems, as I try to figure out how to eat a lobster tail while standing at a table with Morena and 6 strangers. We will never know what Ludwig von Mises might have thought about Mo Money, Mo Problems, but I think it's a pretty good song. I'm still not into the world of luxury brands, though. Throw your rollies in the sky and wave 'em side to side, instructs Biggie at one point. I don't know. Maybe I just like the melody. As far as statements about personal finance go, I prefer Morgan Housel, who says, "Spending money to show people how much money you have is the fastest way to have less money." I leave the white party after about an hour. This sort of thing is probably fun for a certain personality type, just not the one I have, and especially while sober. All in all, I don't have a lot of regrets about how my relationship to alcohol has worked out. I could have tried being a painfully awkward 24-year-old, sober at the party, hoping to chat with girls about their favorite economist or existentialist philosopher, but I don't think it would have gone well. Living the virtuous life in your 40s sounds like a good, healthy plan. Doing it in your 20s just sounds obnoxious. As it is, I quit drinking before it became a massive problem for my health or my relationships. I've made some mistakes, faced down my demons, and emerged victorious, ready for the next fight. It could have gone differently, of course. As I mentioned in episode 80, luck does matter. But so does what you choose to do, day in and day out. And it's useless to wait around for luck when you could just get to work. Getting sober hasn't been easy, but it's totally worth it. That's about all I've got for today. Thanks for listening up to this point. I hope you're well wherever you are. That was about the easiest recording session I've ever had for a podcast. A lot of times I just trip over my words the whole time and have to go back. This time it went very well. I would like to thank the large amount of caffeine I had this morning for making this all possible, and I'd like to thank you, the listener, for making this worthwhile. If you would like to donate to the podcast, head past expatmadrid.com/donate. I'll use the money to buy, more coffee and sparkling water when I'm out and about here in Barcelona or wherever I happen to be. My next article, I think, is going to be about Japan. My next podcast is going to be about Japan, unless something really interesting in Spain happens to interrupt that. But I've got Japan on the way, so stick around for that. expatmadrid.com/donate to donate some money to the cause here. I appreciate whatever you can send my way. If you're interested in quitting drinking, send me a message. Also, I'm happy to talk about it. The website, expatmadrid.com, has lots of articles that don't make it to the podcast. Recently, my articles on the Spanish Civil War have been doing pretty well on, the Google algorithm. I've got George Orwell and the Spanish Civil War. His book is basically the #1 source of information for most people who are interested in the Spanish Civil War, most English-speaking people at least. There's also a guy named Peter Kemp. I did a whole big long article about him, and that's doing pretty well on the algorithm. Peter Kemp was the anti-Orwell. He joined the national side during the Civil War, and it's a book that I actually enjoyed even more than Homage to Catalonia. He saw a lot more action than Orwell did, and it's not even a political book. It's a, action-packed thriller more than a book about right-wing politics. So you can check that out. Mine Were of Trouble. I've got an episode here on the podcast about Mine Were of Trouble. I think it is going to be episode 38, it looks like. You can check that out, episode 38. I've got a YouTube channel, Learn Spanish with Daniel. You can just put that into Google as well, Learn Spanish with Daniel. Mostly I'm putting up episodes of this podcast on Learn Spanish with Daniel these days, but you can also learn some Spanish with me, Daniel, over there. I've got, about 50 videos about different things about Spanish grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation. I can teach you how to do the double R sound, etc. I'll be making more of that eventually. I've got 12 different projects that I'm working on, and, it's tough to do 12 things at the same time. If you put my name into Amazon, you will see that I have written a lot of books for Spanish speakers who want to learn English, but if you are listening to this, you probably do not need to learn English from me. In any case, maybe you have Spanish-speaking friends who could use some help. You can buy, 10 or 20 copies of my books on Amazon and distribute them among your Spanish-speaking friends. I mean, one copy would also be fine. But if you have 10 or 20 Spanish-speaking friends and you would like to distribute my books, that's also a possibility. Just saying. I left a lot on the table while writing this article. I was just trying to create a good piece of writing more than say everything I had to say about the topic. So I said about 60% of what I wanted to say. Check out the rest of the episodes of this podcast on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and basically wherever else you might be listening to podcasts. This is, I think I said episode 83, so there are 82 more episodes, and by the time you're listening to this, maybe many more. I hope you're doing well wherever you are out there in the world. Thank you once again for listening, and we'll be back soon with Japan and then more Spain stuff. I promise we will get back to talking about Spain eventually. Have a good one. Hasta la próxima. Bye.